School District Number 76 Board of Education regular meeting, February 17th, 2015 to order. Please stand and join us with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Linda Bailey.
Here.
Pam Griner.
Here.
Brenda Cagle. Here. Val Reagan.
Here.
Julie Troop, absent. Rebecca Kern, absent. Judy Strong.
Present. On our agenda, the next item would be our student focus awesomeness.
Yes, and this month, with all, again, with all of the activities going on and taking place with our students, it was too hard to get a significant group to come in this month. So hopefully we will get back in the swing in March.
Okay, thank you. Public participation at this time. If you have anything to bring in front of the board, please feel free to. Hearing none, we'll go on to results driven. Our principal's awesome results.
Okay, first, Mr. Jokish is going to attend. He's going to be a little bit tardy because of the home volleyball game that we have going on right now, and Mr. Nettles had to be called away for an emergency with his mother-in-law having surgery. So it's just kind of unexpected, but we can hear from Mr. McCormick while I go get my board pack.
Okay.
Timely.
Let's see, a couple things to tell you about. Had a nice visit from a former teacher by the name of Diane Hall. And I'll give you a little bit of history. Probably about the first or second week of school when I was here, I called her because 20 years ago my sister's student taught with her and said nothing but wonderful things about her. And so I called her. She was very pleasant on the phone, but I guess she travels a bit. But she still keeps in contact with a number of the teachers here. And she came in to visit, and it was nice meeting her and talking to her a little bit. But what was really neat was she had been in communication with Mrs. Theory. And if you remember, Mrs. Theory's class sponsored the Dolphins. Mrs. Hall happened to be traveling down in Clearwater and went and took some videos for them and brought them back to the class. So that was pretty neat for them to see the videos that she had taken and brought back to them. We're also doing some planning right now for Dr. Seuss's birthday, coming up 2 weeks from yesterday, March 2nd, I believe. We've got a number of things going on, including green eggs and ham, and kind of a focus on reading for that week. We also recently completed the SAPC-S survey. Now, we're part of the RTI network, which helps us with our what is now MTSS program, RTI and PBIS together. And for being a part of that RTI network, which gives us a lot of help in doing what we're doing and doing what we're doing better, they ask us once a year to fill out a survey that shows where we're at. And for me, it was new. I haven't done this before with this school, but a team of us got together and assessed where we were at. And it was interesting because we realized in doing the survey that we still have some holes. We have some areas that are currently in progress but aren't fully implemented yet. So, you know, it's like, gosh, when we fill this out next year, we can check this one, this one, this one. But what was nice to see was after we were done, they compared it to our results from last year, and we're making progress in areas. 3 areas really that they assess are math, reading, and behavior, and all 3 areas showed progress. So That's good to see that we're doing better at offering different interventions, different programs that are benefiting the kids in those areas. Let's see, couple housekeeping things. This last month, we actually dealt with a few leaks in the building, down the kindergarten hallway. And I guess this is nothing new, and we've tried different things to address the problem, but what happens, as I understand it, is we get ice, and it has to be the right type of weather. You get basically ice dams up in the gutters, and the downspouts freeze, and water ends up coming straight down the building, and because of that, it finds its way into the building. So we were actually pretty thankful. We only had about 2 or maybe 3 days of water coming in, got a couple carpets a little wet, but everybody kind of pitched in and helped get it cleaned up. And we were most worried about the big melt that happened when we had all the snow, and then all of a sudden it got warm that weekend, but we had no water that weekend. So I don't know.
It's because the gutters freeze up.
Mr. McCormick and I took turns. He came over Saturday, I came over Sunday to check the rooms to make sure that there wasn't a lot of Lake Michigan going on in those classrooms. And you're exactly right. It's because the gutters freeze up and the downspouts freeze up. And after speaking with Mr. Grove, the suggestion that he had is to come in and excavate down to the foundation, where the foundation, the bricks meet the foundation, use some hydraulic cement that'll get into the cracks. It forms in like water would, hence the name hydraulic. It comes in, patches in all the cracks and everything, and then backfill with a slope away from the building. Because right now, what has happened is, as water is leaked over, it doesn't come down this downspout, it goes over, and it has made indentations right near the windows. So it's sloping back into the building. So it's a situation that was a problem last year, problem this year. I imagine it's been a problem in the past. It's one of those things that needs to be addressed. So yeah, we were glad we didn't have a dramatic waterfalls in our classrooms.
Yeah, I brought my son along to help, and he was glad too. Actually, he didn't even know why we were stopping here, but he was going to get put to work. The other housekeeping item I wanted to mention was that, the winter has not been particularly kind to the parking lot, particularly that back area back there. And I've got, not complaints, but I get a few comments from parents. They'll make the same comments we all do. Looking a little potholy, that's freezing at dawn. So, I just wanted to mention those couple of things. We did have K1 reading night, and that was last Monday. And I believe we had right around 60 kids come from kindergarten and first grade. So really think that was a good turnout, and probably just as many parents as well. And it was really designed to have the parents interact with the kids, doing different activities. The gym was kind of split. Kindergarten had one track over here, and first grade over here, and they got a book read to them. I read to the first graders, and then they got to pick out a book to take with them. And then they did a series of different activities, 6 different stations, and one of them was getting their picture taken with Clifford. And there's actually some Clifford pictures right outside the wall here with a couple of students. And when you take a look at those pictures, you also notice our Student of the Month is up there as well. We have Student of the Month for each grade level now. It was something new we started with, that was part of PBIS, but all the names are on the board outside here, and that'll change at the end of each month. And then last thing, I can't forget to mention the chili supper on Friday. Okay, so see you guys all there. I know that everybody's been working hard to get things together. I've got several raffle prizes in my office. There's a computer and a TV, and I keep telling them, just mount the TV and get it done with. But that's all I got. Do you guys have any questions for me?
What's your criteria for Student of the Month?
It is something decided by each grade level team.
Just wondering.
That was new this year.
It actually was new in January. Yep. And they got Each of them got a certificate denoting them as Student of the Month, and then we thought that in May, we'd take all of our Students of the Month and perhaps have maybe donuts and juice in the morning with them, something along those lines, a little celebration for them.
Is there an involvement with the parent when they get acknowledged also?
To this point, there has not been yet, no.
Okay.
But I think that's an excellent idea. We'll see if we can work towards that.
All right.
Would that, excuse me, would that be something that the board would like to invite those students in to the board meeting after they've been chosen as an idea?
Depends on how they were chosen.
Well, I believe PBIS brings a standard, don't they?
Mhm.
Yeah. The state is bringing a standard for the schools to follow, but perhaps. And that's why I asked about the parents, because another school district I've been in, one of the little boys came up and go, "I'm student of the week this week," and I go, "You are?" And he goes, "Yep, Mom says I am," and they had to fill out a form. So, you know, getting that parent had excited her child, and there was some kind of form that they had filled out. That's why I asked you, is there a form that PBS is generating also for parent involvement, and maybe a once-a-year type of event at the end of the semester, at the end of the school year, for inviting all parents to get here, would be a good idea
Excellent.
with
You
their
know, if you're
child.
wanting- If you're wanting more parent involvement and maybe more involvement with people coming, might be one way to get them in. I don't know if you want to do it once a month, but once a quarter or a semester
Sure.
or something,
Mm-hmm.
might be an idea.
Every semester even would be
Yeah,
great.
I don't know, something we can all talk about.
Absolutely.
Great. Thank you, Mr.
I
McCormick.
think this reading program is really neat, that
Sorry.
K-1 thing, that's a great idea.
It's something I believe they do every year.
That's
Yeah,
great.
they've had a long
Yeah,
time
that's
for
great.
years.
That's great,
It was a lot of
Yeah.
fun.
yeah.
I got to
remember
meet a bunch of kids.
Mr. Bennett used to do it.
I liked the response we got from a parent who was a teacher in another district,
Yes.
that she was going to take ideas back to implement in her classroom. I really appreciated knowing that.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome when they're stealing ideas from you.
Yeah, that's right. Good.
Thank you.
Very good. Excuse me. Part of Mr. Jokish's report was going to be the annual 8th grade field trip to Six Flags. And I don't remember if this was something that the board voted on last year
Yes.
and had an actual vote, and it was an agenda item, or if it was yes, we understand, and this is notification that the 8th grade is going on the Six Flags field trip. If it is to be formally approved and voted on by the board, obviously it's not on the action items for voting, and we'd have to bring that back next month, which is still time since the field trip is set for May 15th. So,
I think it's something that we did approve last
It's a
year.
For policy, you
It's-
have to,
yeah.
because it's over 100 miles.
And it's out of state, both, both the criteria.
So yes, next agenda, please.
Six Flags. Action item. Very good. I don't know what else he was gonna talk about, so that's all I can give him.
Going on to yours then, awesome results.
All right, superintendent saw some results. We had our bond closing. And in your board packet, I attached all of the final closing documents indicating that the proceeds were received by our bank via wire transfer on February 11th. $1,321,854.06 as a final total. That is taking into account all of the funds that, or all of the fees that go along with that, from the closing with Commerce Trust, the fees for Seifel Nicholas for putting all of this stuff together, your bond attorney fees, and all of those that go along with that. And that comes out to our final total of deposit of $1,321,000. So you can see from the email from Cedric Gordon, Chapman Cutler, about our bond counsel, we are officially closed. Thanks to everyone for your hard work, and congratulations on a successful financing. It's been a pleasure working with all of you. Kind of interesting because I never had any correspondence with Mr. Gordon, but we were a part of his, something he was working on for us. So, all right. Any questions regarding the bond closing documents? Good. B, F2. Policy 7180, prevention of and response to bullying, intimidation, and harassment. All right. The legislation has changed regarding bullying and intimidation and harassment in Illinois. The state board has been implying that school districts are required to submit policies for review. There's been a back and forth ever since the legislation was adopted, and the state board and the or our professional organizations, the School Board Association, have been going back and forth as to whether or not the policies are required to be submitted or whether they weren't, because the legislation is not clear, it's silent to that, on and on. They were fighting about it. But on January 28th, ISBE made its final proclamation that districts must submit their policies no later than April 15th, 2015. Now, Press, our organization, and you'll find that right after the bond documents, there's an email from Melinda Selby, who is the general counsel for Press and the School Board Association, saying that the State Board of Education has agreed to allow the policy that Press originally drafted in August 2014, with the understanding that Press will revise the policy sometime in 2016. So the Press policy has now been accepted by the State Board of Education as meeting the criteria at this point, but they will change it later. And they're indicating, obviously, that they're working on whatever other changes they're trying to agree to. So now that they've stopped squabbling, we have a clear directive, and we have talked April 15th to approve and submit this policy for ISBE review. Now I have included the current policy for Creve Coeur in your packet, and it does not comply with the statute, obviously, since they made changes, and so the Board of Education needs to address this, and it's my suggestion that we talk about this policy at the March 3rd committee meeting, place it on first reading at March 17th regular meeting, so that it can be adopted at the April 7th committee or special meeting, or we could back it up and have a special meeting to go through all of this. So this is a policy that is now ready for action by the school district, and we just need to figure out how you would like to address this policy and in what manner. And I guess that leads into the next item, which is Parent-Teacher Advisory Committee, that we talked about whether or not these disciplinary policies must go through a Parent-Teacher Advisory Committee per se, and you have my opinion as to that in here. But in doing a little other research, our policy on policies also allows the Board of Education to adopt policy on an emergency basis if things come up, such as what has here, and to address current legislation. So there's also the ability to suspend having to go through all the rules and just adopt the policy as is. Now, that's not my suggestion or recommendation. I suggest we just go through the process of going through the committee meeting, and then a regular meeting, and then a special meeting at a committee meeting to do this. So this is a process, I suppose, that we just need some direction as to how the board would like to proceed.
So you're saying you want it to go to the Parent-Teacher Advisory Committee first? Is that what you meant by committee and then?
No, ma'am, the board's committee itself. I think we need to move it along on a faster track than that.
Do we have a parent-teacher advisory committee?
Yes, we do.
Okay, do they meet?
There's no requirement that they meet, or that they
Okay.
have to meet.
So we just say there's one? I mean, really?
I
And if they're not
suppose so, too.
meeting, and there's not,
There's a parent-teacher
Who's on it?
advisory committee.
can we ask who's on it? It's not on there, it's not on there.
On the committees in the back, no, there isn't, there are no members listed. Parent-Teacher Advisory Committee Discipline Policy was listed as Superintendent Committee.
Right.
And it's, after going back and looking, it seems that in Creve Coeur, this is a standing committee, so that needs to be moved out of that section and put into the board standing committee. So,
Can you back up there and explain that to me? Only because if it's put into the board standing committee, how do we get parents and teachers on it then?
I guess the board needs to come up with a process. How do you want? Do you want parents to come in? Do you want to choose parents? Do you want to make a notice to bring parents in and then bring them in for interviews and vet them, so you select them?
Doesn't your board president select the committees?
Ma'am?
Doesn't the board president
Select members of the committee? That's another way to do that as well.
That's what it's doing.
Yeah, that's what we done this last 2 years even. Mrs. Strong selected all the committees.
Right. What I had was the parent-student handbook committee that served in that function, and I have those members. It was Ms. Pilkington, Ms. Olsenarski, Ms. Davis from Food Service, myself, Ms. Callahan. Were you part of that?
Yes.
As well? Do you remember anybody else? Who else was there? I'd have to go back and look at the notes.
Yeah, I know that we met in a couple of like mini committees, mini meetings, and I was there with Mrs. Pilkington at our mini meeting.
That's on staff.
And there's no parent teachers.
Right?
Mrs. McIndoller served as our parent
She's not
teacher.
a parent in this district.
She tells me she is.
Her kids that graduated from high school a year ago.
Well, a parent. But
I would think a parent would be someone who had a kid in the school.
In the district.
I'd like to see parents
Yeah.
get involved.
I mean, she's a teacher, so that would work. Yeah.
It can be new. This would be a good.
Involvement has been, we all know that, it has been at a low and from the parents, and that's why anything we can do to pull parents in is going to be to the advantage, but
Well, that's why I asked the question, does the board want to, put out notices in in our monthly newsletters, parents invited? Do we want to put something on the Creve Coeur sign that they have out there? Do we want to, put it on the website to try to get a pool of parents and then have them come in? And in order for the board president to, appoint somebody, I think the board, at least the board president, should know who they're appointing.
I was like to shooting, I
So-
think they have a process that she usually follows.
your citizen advisory is Griner and Reagan, right?
We have never
That's who
met.
we're talking about.
No,
No,
no, we have never met, that committee has never met.
I don't know what that
this is
is.
parent
We don't even know what
teacher
it is.
advisory.
Oh, I'm sorry, okay.
Your parent advisory committee is required by the state. We
Yes,
used-
and that's what he brought.
Right, and the president used to appoint people. How do you get them? I don't know. We just chose, but.
I think I would get input from our principals. They should know which parents are active in the school.
good.
At least they could give you suggestions and maybe you could choose from their recommendation.
Right. Good idea.
And you only have to meet like,
And didn't they go over the handbook? Isn't that what we did? And that's
That's
where the
what-
discipline came in?
And that's what we did last year. But it was done as a superintendent's committee rather than a standing committee of the board, but then I saw that you've listed that as a standing committee for the Board of Education, so we'll make that notation, make it changed, bring a number of, if I'm hearing correctly, bring a number of parents who would be willing. I'm
More
just,
involved in the building, I think, is what
Right.
I'm hearing through the principals. Who's coming
Right.
into those buildings that perhaps
Sure.
would be someone we could even contact, from what I understood from others on the board.
And maybe a concerned parent that works during the day but could meet in the evening, that would want to give input.
what do you only need a couple?
well, if we do it during the evening, then you're talking about teacher time as well. And so you're talking about paying staff to attend a meeting, administrators having to attend another evening meeting. So we just need to recognize that. I'm not saying one way or another. I'm just saying that, that's what that's what the suggestion would lead to.
Maybe that's why the parent thing was a broad term.
It's a state requirement.
I know.
Might ask for teacher
No,
volunteers.
I'm using Mrs. McIndoller last year. It was
Oh.
a broad term.
Oh, I
Ask for
think
Teacher volunteers.
Ask for teacher volunteers, or maybe that could be one of their nights that's per contract that they spend in the district.
Or maybe you have a parent that can get off work and be here by 3 o'clock. or
Yeah, that's
something.
true. That's just an idea.
I just need to know how to proceed,
Right.
that's all.
A lot of parents can't get involved, not because they don't want to, but because they work 9 to 5, so.
Right.
Are you saying that you thought you had a parent committee that approved all your policies?
No,
No.
they just give input. They don't approve.
Okay.
They only review our policies and give input.
So do they have to do it as a committee? Can they do it as a packet that we send to them as a packet and say, can you give us a response back? Can we do something like that, Mr. Aldridge?
Well, it is listed as a committee.
Okay.
It is listed as something that if you look, if you find administrative code, it's kind of back from the committee portion. There is the actual statute that talks about student discipline policies, parent-teacher advisory committee. So, school board, that's the language above or implied, to establish and maintain a parent advisory committee to develop with the school board policy guidelines on pupil discipline, including school searches, to furnish a copy of the policy to the parents or guardian of each pupil within 15 days after the beginning of the school year, or within 15 days after starting classes for a pupil who transfers into the district during the school year, and to require that each school informs its pupils of the content of its policy. That's the student handbook. That's how we have done that. So in reviewing the student handbook, you have complied with that part of the statute. The next sentence goes on, and the school boards, along with the parent advisory committee, are encouraged to annually review their pupil discipline policies. It doesn't say that it has to be done annually or that it has to be done individually as new policies are developed by press and adopted by the board. It just says it is encouraged. So I don't believe that there is any impropriety on any of the steps that were taken last year in reviewing the school student handbook. So I think we can move forward in whichever direction the board would like to go. And I just need to know how you would like to proceed.
I would like to see a committee with parents of children in our district currently on that committee.
I would too. I mean, because it kind of said parents of pupils, so.
And I know there is a time element here, but also this policy was out last June or July.
August, yes.
Okay, August,
August,
we've
yeah.
had plenty of time to get it in place, so hopefully we can do this and get it done.
I think that, talking to the principals and getting a couple of ideas from them on parents, getting a couple of parents lined up and maybe moving towards a March 3rd, talking about it like March 3rd and then again March 17th, don't you think?
I think we're pushing it to try to get that all accomplished for this one policy. I don't have any problem with putting together parent-teacher advisory committee and, trying to find parents, trying to find teachers and all of those things. But if we're saying we want to have that in place prior to looking at and adopting this policy, I think we might miss the April 15th deadline. And that was arbitrarily decided by the State Board of Education.
Yeah,
So.
And it was the end of January. We haven't had very long, less than a month, to know that we have to have this policy in place.
Right.
But we actually should have done it last August, so.
And
Right.
We did.
Well, we
No, we
didn't.
didn't.
it
Yes,
wasn't, it wasn't brought to the Board of Education and adopted back in August. This is coming to you now.
We're behind.
Press
Wasn't the
had
one
it.
that says
Press had
August?
it, I held it because of all of the hoo-ha that was going on around this whole policy with the State Board of Education and the School Board Association
Okay.
not agreeing on this policy. And whether or not it had to be reviewed by the State Board of Education, whether or not blah, blah, blah. So it has been
I guess I'm just
August.
looking
It
at
doesn't
a
say,
timeline.
right, that's when it was
It wasn't a-
submitted to us.
Right.
Well, can't we agree to go ahead and move this forward and can still put our committee together? I mean, can't we work on putting that committee together and still go ahead and move this forward?
Yes,
Or is that?
that's
wrong?
that's my suggestion.
Plus, the state's gonna come back anyway within a few months and
Or is that
hopefully
wrong?
agree with what they want. Pardon?
2016.
Can we do that or
I
not?
would
Bottom line, we've got to get this approved first and second reading before April 15th.
Right, can't we just continue to move this forward and then work on getting that committee put together? I think we're in agreement that we need to get that committee put together, right?
But I'm not convinced that we can't do that in this amount of time. I mean, it's one policy. I think if you get the committee organized in probably one meeting, they can be done with.
That's
Move forward
convincing.
both ways.
That's convincing a few
Get the
people.
committee going, move forward with that, get this going, bring it here. See what we do.
I would at least attempt to try to get the
Right.
committee going. I mean, rather than just say we can't.
Even if we started, adopted and did the first reading, they
Gives
could
them another
still,
2 weeks.
Right.
yeah, they can still look at it. It doesn't
True.
mean that we can't keep our progress going.
Well, if they're already parents in the school district, they should already know the school policy. They
This,
should
we're
have already-
adopting a new one. This is a new one that we want to adopt.
I know, but they should already have read at least the basic policy.
I
right?
never read the policies when I was a parent.
I did.
You have the whole book and you read them all?
I've read the dang thing.
Well, how many?
Parent,
Good.
student,
The handbook?
Handbook.
Oh, the handbook is different. This is,
Yeah,
I'm
the
talking
handbook
about
is
policies,
policy.
yeah,
Okay.
you're right.
I read the handbook.
Yeah.
So from my understanding, we're going to try and at least address through the principals, needs of names, and we'll approach those. In the meantime, we're addressing it, discussion at our committee of the whole, and what they have brought to us.
20.
Right.
Right,
We're talking a couple people, right?
right, two.
are grandparents included? Are guardians included?
It
Is
says
DCFS
guardians.
It
included?
said in here guardians are pupils.
Or parents.
Well, you made a
Parents of
statement you
pupils.
wanted only
Okay.
parents.
It said parents of pupils
Parents
are
and
guardians.
guardians.
here.
I'm talking, I don't want to name names, but people that are in the district, that their children are out of our school district, that they're grown. I think we need somebody that has a child here actively
Okay.
to have input.
Whether it's a grandparent, a foster parent, or,
I wouldn't have a problem with a grandparent, as long as they're involved and they know what's going on, that'd be great.
okay. All right, can we see what we can do? Go forward?
I am sure that we can come up with a few parent names to put this into place.
I would also try to get one from each school.
Good idea.
But if that's not possible, a couple of parents.
Right.
The problem is,
That-
well, it's not a problem. It's not a problem. It is it's a process situation. Mr. McCormick and I were talking today, actually, about the student handbook, and he's been working on going through the handbook to determine if we have all the required policies and meet all of the legal requirements for a student handbook. We've been going through that. There are revisions that need to be made, so this isn't going to be a commitment by a parent for just this one policy.
Right.
Okay, so I am committed that we will do the best that we can, but what happens if we don't have a committee in place?
Well, that's my daughter.
Okay, we'll address
Well,
that
maybe
when it
it's
comes
Until
along.
the end of the school year. I mean, maybe you could get someone to do it till the end of the school year and then look. I'll get someone. I can call and get two people for you tomorrow.
Say Rachel doesn't work.
Pardon?
Say my daughter-in-law doesn't work.
Well, see, she's got one.
I mean, she's,
I'm
you
sure
know,
we
she's
can
busy.
think of another one.
You know,
Yeah,
she's busy.
I just said, I called someone that's very involved in the school
Someone
district
that
will do
just
it.
actually get out here and meet.
Okay,
That's basic.
give us a name and a phone number.
I don't know if she do it.
Right,
I'll get back to you.
okay.
I'll have to bug her about it.
All right, and I'll put out an email to staff, and since we have, excuse me, since we have certified staff here, they could report back to their colleagues that we are going to be looking for potential volunteers to be a part of the Parent-Teacher Advisory Committee as we move forward. So I will make that plea to the teachers, and I'll let the principals work on parent names as well, just so we have a pool of candidates in case people aren't able to participate. So, all right, very well. So if I'm hearing it correctly, I will bring policy 7180 to the committee of the whole on March 3rd. Then we will move the process forward from there. Is that what I'm hearing?
Agreed.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Illinois Principal Association Conference. This is just an FYI. This is kind of a nice thing. One of those good things that comes along in education. Mr. Kleesner and Mr. Jokish have been selected to be presenters at the Education Leaders Summer Conference up in Lasalle, Illinois this summer. They are going to do a presentation entitled Writing in Science to Meet Diverse Needs. So Mr. Kleesner has been working with staff at Parkview regarding including writing and components of writing into the science curriculum, as he has his students generating and drafting reports for the scientific, for the science fair and for other components of his classroom assignments, using good writing techniques and reinforcing them in the science class. So they were recognized for this and have been asked to present on their findings and everything. So I thought it was a nice professional accolade that the board could recognize for these two gentlemen who worked very hard for our school district.
Yeah.
Super. All right. Okay. I'm just going to go ahead, Ms. Strong, because we're going into the consent agenda, and I think we've got a couple things that need to be kind of listed out here. First, board members should have a document that looks like this, presented by Ms. Greiner, and it is in relation to the board minutes of January 27th, and is the bottom, and February 3rd. There were two requests for revisions to the board minutes, and I just wanted to bring them out for discussion and kind of address this individually. And I didn't want to have to try to remember exactly what was said and what the revisions were, so I just printed them off. That's all. Okay. So
having just received that, are you suggesting that we pull the minutes out of the consent agenda for tonight?
we can do that. We can pull the both of the minutes from the agenda, and to give the board time to, and members that weren't here, time to review the requested revisions, and then bring it back as a action item at our next
The board
regular
members who
board
aren't
meeting.
here aren't voting anyway. The board members who aren't here aren't voting anyway.
Okay.
We
So
just
what would it
received
matter?
it. We just received it, and from what I'm looking at, from what I know in the past, when I looked at the minutes myself, I thought they were very clear and distinct on what was presented to the board that night. Very detailed, and so to get somebody to say they didn't like it, I need more time myself.
Mrs. Strong,
to
it's
look
not
it
that I
over.
don't like them, they're inaccurate.
Okay,
Okay.
that's what I didn't see. So your comment on being inaccurate, Mrs. Greiner, I would like to consider in a time where I can look and see what you're referring to.
Go watch the video.
Yeah, that's the thing. The only way you can do is watch the video.
I was there.
So you could just
I was
vote
there.
tonight then?
No, because I don't know what Mrs. Greiner is asking for.
It's, well, right here, I want this sentence removed. The community member accused the Board of Education of engaging in illegal activity by adopting student discipline policies without the policies first having been vetted by a parent-teacher advisory committee.
And I don't know that I'm ready to think even, that is a lot for you to state yourself that is incorrect in our minutes. And I just need time to reflect. When you ask for time and ask something to pulled off the agenda, we usually just pull it off the agenda for the night. So it's something that looks like needs to be more time to reflect on what needs to be presented. And that's what I'm saying. I'm just asking for it to be pulled forward.
So you're one person that wants to table it?
And usually it's just one person that wants to table it. I know more than enough times, one person that says, could we just table this for tonight? So that's what I'm saying. I'd like us to table it.
I would suggest that all board members go back and watch the tape to see.
Right.
Okay.
Not
Because
just
the-
one opinion, all of us. It
Sure.
only takes a few minutes.
Right, because we all have to vote on it.
Right.
And we all need to consider
Yeah,
what's
I'd like to
best.
watch the tape, 'cause
You
I
should,
kinda
because after the
confused.
request to amend the agenda, it was never stated why that executive session couldn't be moved until after the vote was taken. I think a lot of times people think things happen in a certain order, but they don't. I mean, I went back and specifically looked for that, and it was not said, Mrs. Kern finally said, I have to go to work is why.
Actually,
that was
both
the only
ladies
time.
were having to leave. And so
But that
I
was
was
never
under,
said like it states in these minutes.
it wasn't on the agenda, so why would I bring it up? Other than we had it in order.
But it's in these minutes, that's what I'm saying. They
Well,
shouldn't be in
okay.
here because it didn't happen.
So we need to look at it.
What about February 3rd?
Well, I voted no. I mean, I voted yes, not no as it was stated, but you can watch the video on that also.
On which item?
To go into executive session, I did not vote no as stated in the minutes.
Okay. So that's the only difference that we've got on this one?
Yeah, but you need to go
You gotta
back and
wait.
watch the video.
Yeah.
Let's make sure.
Well, when I read that, I also questioned. And just pull both of them then. Just
Yeah.
table both of them.
We're breaking down the consent agenda then?
Yeah.
And as long as we're discussing minutes, did you appoint Mr. Aldrich as the acting Board of Education Secretary to sign these minutes? It does look funny.
Because our secretary had to leave.
Right.
It is what we usually do, so
It'd be Miss Callahan, Miss Callahan.
so we'll change that.
They asked her to take a minute.
Okay.
She
Mhm.
can't do it because she's not a board
She's not a board member.
member. I thought she-
When ROE comes in and checks, the board president and the secretary pro temp. So I don't know about that, since superintendent,
You might
you're not
wanna
a board
check.
member, so I don't
What
know.
did you do when you had just Stephanie?
She was the acting Board of Education Secretary.
She never signed these minutes.
No.
Only
When
the
nobody
board.
else was there?
Pam was the Board of Education
Right.
Secretary.
When
That's-
nobody else was there, when you weren't there?
Okay, then you appoint another board member.
Okay.
I mean,
I've never missed, so I
right.
really know.
Oh, okay.
You did one time.
I've missed 2 meetings in 12 years.
That's-
14 years, how-
Somebody else did. Anyway, I don't know. The ROE, I know this is why we have to sign, because the ROE comes in and checks at random, I believe, make sure that all minutes are signed.
Let's pull the minutes.
Okay, so going forward tonight, since we haven't taken any votes or anything to that nature, Mrs. Strong, I guess, it would be
You want a motion?
most accurate to appoint a secretary pro tem
Okay.
for this meeting.
Oh,
Does that make
good idea.
sense?
Yeah.
Does that fit with what I'm hearing?
Okay, yep. Mrs. Griner, with your experience, can we ask you to sit down on the minutes?
Sure.
Would you like a motion to table the minutes, Mrs. Strong? Or
Yes, please.
like to make the motion to table the minutes of February, or January 27th and February 3rd?
I second.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Linda Bailey,
Aye.
Pam Griner,
No.
Brenda Cagle,
Yes.
Val Reagan,
No.
Judy Strong.
Yes.
Is that carried or?
Yes.
Yes, it
3-2
carries.
is carried.
Motion carried.
Thank you. So continuing on with the payments list.
Yes, the payments list. There was question about last month. I just want to clarify. I wasn't sure if my email got to all of the board members regarding the question that was brought up last month. So I just want to clarify that there was a check. There's a check to a company called DigiKey Corporation, and it says copier lease in the amount of $1,363. That check was questioned because of, well, it was questioned, and the reason was a copier lease that we have is with Digital Copy Systems, LLC, and there was a check for the similar amount. This is in your other
Yeah,
last month's packet, sorry. It's for the exact same amount to Digital Copy Systems, LLC. Now, in talking to Mrs. Cornwall, and I guess I shouldn't have had to do that, because on the next page it shows the DigiKey Corporation check for that copier lease was voided out, and that the total of $1,363 was voided. That check was voided. What happened is that in the system that we have, in the bookkeeping system, is an autofill system. So as you know, DigiKey, as opposed to digital copying, it was just inadvertently, DigiKey was punched in, that check was printed, and then it was found that was an incorrect check. It was voided out in the system, and Digital Copy Systems, that check was written to the correct vendor. So it was a vendor name mistake was all it was, and it was included in the payments list from January 27th. I just missed that it was in the back of that, at the back page of that, the payments list and the check summary itself. So it was there. It was printed, but then it was voided, and then we paid the correct vendor. So it was just an inadvertent error through the computer system, because those autofills. Sometimes those happen. It's like autocorrect in your spelling sometimes. You don't always get the right thing said. So that was the only only matter that I had to that I just wanted to bring to the board, all of the board's attention for that that payments list last month. So I didn't know if there was if there were any questions as to this month's. I think there was, and it was a check to, it was a check to Office, is it Office Max or Staples?
It was
Office Depot.
Like for $45?
One of those, no, it's for $549.
$519.96.
Oh, $519. And which check was that, Miss?
It's 16649.
16649. I just didn't go far enough. It's on page 9, near the bottom there. And it's listed as Parkview Tech Supplies. That is ink for the computer laboratory, the ink for the printers, because we did all of the printing of our MAP scores, and that's done for each individual student, and then a class list for the teachers, and it takes a lot of ink to do that. When they do, when they do certain reports, they do them in color, so they use color printing to do that, because otherwise you can't really tell, and it's a good graphic representation of how students are progressing or regressing.
Do you know if that's a laser printer or?
What is it, just an HP 255?
Yeah, it's just an HP. It's not a-
That's
We might
a
need to
lot
look at
of
something
ink.
that's a little
Yeah,
bit
$500.
cost effective then.
Whoa.
For the
So.
color sets.
Yeah, but-
Color's expensive.
Is it toner or cartridges?
The one that's in, my room takes toner, but the one that's in the office takes color. And color isn't toner, is it? Toner's just black, isn't it?
No, the toners come in
Powder.
like a cylinder.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, that's powder, that's the one that's in the computer lab printer.
And that's what we replaced,
Yeah.
was those.
Mhm.
I know we have cylinders at home and they're
We
expensive.
need to get a
I've
contract.
got this, and I mean, I've got a laser.
It's not
50 for all
laser.
4. I mean, well, I've got the powder,
Oh.
got one of each, but $50, $60 for all 4. So that's a lot of replacements, that's a lot of printing.
Mhm.
I think I paid $96 for black only. Yeah.
The
That's
cartridge
why it doesn't
is
sound.
big.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
cartridges
Yeah.
are-
Build rolls.
Yeah, they pull out.
And if they're double, where they have double powder in them, they run higher than that, so, I don't know.
We need to get a contract. Get them cheaper.
Gotta go back to
Yeah, the old
the
fashioned.
old ones, yeah.
There is
I mean,
a
it's
name
a
I can't
cost.
see.
It's a cost of doing business in education. So if
They have ditto machines anymore.
Yeah.
yeah,
That
you
was
know,
a lesson
just
either.
Well, that's why they have computers, just send it out email, here as it is, pull it off.
well, and then it's printing at an individual's printer, and we
Well, you don't
have
have to
to
pull it off, you
replace
just leave it on the
those.
computer.
I can get you a name maybe to compare prices if somebody else knows of somebody else that compare prices possibly, but yeah, it's a cost we have to have.
Like, we get ours email.
It's not something that hasn't been questioned already. It's a cost of doing business. It is it's a process that we have to go through. Holly has heard it from me many times. Is there someplace else we can get these cheaper? Is there another vendor? Are we using this correctly?
How long will
So,
it last us? Will this last like almost a year?
No.
Oh.
It'll get us
We can
through the end of the
expect
year.
At least half the amount. No, do all of our Lasalle students take the MAP testing too?
Yes.
Okay, so we can expect the same amount from
And I don't know
Lasalle.
if that's what was on the bottom part of
Maybe
that
not,
check.
maybe not
This
in
quarter.
one whole lump sum, but during the course of the year. It just happened that this was a lump sum of a number of printers, and we ordered some extras, and so it was it was just a lump purchase. It just looks big. It's not big. It's through the course of the school year.
So it'll last you a year.
No, it'll last us a couple months.
Oh, $500.
$500 every few months.
But I
You're
think
putting
what
those
he's-
reports out.
What he's saying now is it's not just one printer, it's multiple printers.
Right, so it didn't just print out the map scores, it's going to last.
Right, I did say it was in the
That's-
computer
Right.
lab,
That's where we're-
right?
Okay.
But the majority of the run is the map scores. I mean, that was the big run that depleted the supplies. Mr. McCormick, anything that you can add to get me out of this mess?
I'm not 100% sure on this. Holly might be better able to answer this, but our reports from Lasalle may have been run over there too, because we don't have a whole lot of color printers over here, and so that may.
Yeah, I do remember when we were going and we were converting over to the web-based. Now that I think about it, I printed off the LaSalle reports over there because remember you sent me that email when we were in the middle of the conversion. We wouldn't be able to get to our scores for about 6 or 7 weeks. So I did.
And Ms. Bullard has been gnawing at me and nudging me to purchase a few more color printers. So that kind of makes sense.
Cool. So how many color printers do we have here at LaSalle? Just,
I'm
Why?
sorry.
That's not
Your
me.
audience is saying one.
I'm just saying, maybe
No,
we do
Mr.
need
McCormick
more, I don't
said
know. I'm just like, if you need it.
There are
never
two.
mind. Two.
Two to my knowledge.
Okay.
But neither,
Huh,
I'm not sure what printer.
Stephanie has one, I know that.
Okay, and that, but I consider that the district.
Right.
Okay.
And we don't use that one.
Okay.
But neither, the amount of reports we have to generate for this, I would have had to start mine in January, have them done tonight.
Wow.
And I believe Mrs. Bullard's is the same way. They're seems like it's printing each line individually. They're not real quick.
Yeah, you
So
don't-
we're not using a network print to the copiers that we have the lease for?
They're not color copiers.
Okay.
Maybe that's why we save 7 cents a copy for 3 cents a
Yeah,
copy.
I don't know.
Hey,
It is
get the horse in the mouth.
it's a larger expense on a copier to have the color.
Yeah.
And
And they use
there's
it.
there's less control over that if you want to get right down to it.
Because when I can print in color, I print in color, because I think it looks nice.
Sounds like a job for the tech
Art
committee.
testing, will that count something more?
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Art testing too, will that bring more reports?
We haven't, it'll bring more reports, but we don't know, and it'll be individual reports, but it won't be any different than what we have in, previously with the ISACs.
Oh,
So it's just a replacement of that one. So,
okay.
yeah. It's a cost of doing business, and it's just the fact that it was a large purchase at one time. Okay. That was the only other question I received from anyone regarding the bill's payment list.
I just had a comment about Kenyon. It's about what I expected for the blueprints.
Oh, yeah, I
Yeah.
see that.
I mean,
So we don't want to bring much more.
No.
Exactly.
and I assume we burn out another light bulb because Brad Hills was in here. So I didn't question it, I assume that's what it was. Or something to do with those.
Yep, and our smart boards and our projectors are starting to dwindle one by one as the RPGs, as they start to go out. It does require replacement.
And those light bulbs are expensive.
The bulbs and the projectors themselves, we've had 2 or 3 go out, the full projectors this year, and we've talked about those purchases.
Right.
Yep.
All right, are we going on to the treasurer's report then, or?
You want an individual motion for approval of the payments list?
I would, since we already broke it down.
Just want to keep as, organized as possible.
Yeah, I don't see a need for that,
Okay.
because unless we need to pull another one, then Might have to go back, but
Yeah, that's fine.
treasurer's report, we'll go forward and see if we need it. Any comments from the table or from Mr. Aldridge on
Should
that?
we make the motion before we discuss it anyway?
Oh, there's a whole lot of things we could do to make things very, very technical, yes.
I just thought it was Robert's Rules of Order.
So it is a matter of, we had a consent agenda, it was broken up, it was things pulled from the consent agenda. Those probably should have been moved to the action items and discussed and deliberated. Second, approved, or motioned and seconded as well. We had a motion to table the minutes. So should we have a motion to approve the payments list, Ms. Strong?
Well,
I
my
think-
thoughts is moving on after,
I guess I would recommend this.
Time.
Okay.
what do you recommend?
Just that we go ahead and we make a motion, even though we've already had discussion of the payments list, that you make a motion and accept the
Payments list?
payments list.
Okay, then we'll break it on down to payments list. We need a motion, please.
I make a motion to accept payments list.
Second.
Any further discussion? Okay, I see some smiles going on there, but let's have a roll call. Apparently it isn't a comment.
Linda Bailey,
Aye.
Pam Griner,
Aye.
Brenda Cagle,
Aye.
Val Reagan,
Aye.
Judy Strong.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay, now on to the treasurer's report.
Motion?
I make a motion to approve the treasurer's report.
Okay, Mrs. Cagle,
Second.
Mrs. Reagan. Discussion? No discussion? All right, roll call, please.
Linda Bailey,
Aye.
Pam Griner,
Aye.
Brenda Cagle,
Aye.
Val Reagan,
Aye.
Judy Strong.
Yes?
Motion carried.
All right, going on to the student activity fund reports for Lasalle and Parkview. A motion, please.
Make a motion to approve the student activity fund reports for Lasalle and for Parkview.
Thank you. I'll second it.
I would ask you to revise your motion and clarify that we are approving LaSalle's December and January activity report as well as Parkview's January. It was left off the agenda last month, if you recall.
That is correct. It was it was in the board packet, but it was left off the agenda as to the LaSalle activity report. So,
Wasn't an action.
Okay. Did you resend? Okay. And restate it?
Resend that and restate it. Make a motion to approve the student activity fund reports for LaSalle and for Parkview and for LaSalle Schools Activity Fund report for December 2014 and for January 2015. As presented.
a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Bailey. Now discussion. Reports are clear and accurate. Otherwise, I think we hear from the members. If there's no further discussion, we'll have a roll call.
Linda Bailey,
Aye.
Pam Griner,
Aye.
Brenda Cagle,
Aye.
Val Reagan,
Aye.
Judy Strong.
Yes, thank you.
Motion carried.
Moving on to action items. Do we have a brave member to read the motion?
Look at me for.
Because you were brave last month.
Is everything here?
Pardon?
Is everything in the packet?
Well, I haven't heard any comments yet, so I guess,
I'll read you check. Okay. Okay, I'll make a motion to accept press policies for the second reading and adoption of 2.30, school district elections. 2.100, board member conflict of interest. Policy 2.110, qualifications, terms, and duties of board officers. 4.30, excuse me, revenue and investments. 5.10, equal employment opportunity and minority recruitment. 5.30, hiring process and criteria. 5.35, compliance with the Fair Labor Standards Act.
Okay, wait a minute.
She's good. Keep
It's
going.
on there,
It's
down
at
the
the
bottom.
bottom.
Okay, it's fine. Sorry, ignore that.
No, that's fine, I want somebody to check.
Ignore that too.
5.125, personal technology and social media usage and conduct. 5.180, temporary illness or temporary incapacity. 5.190, teacher qualifications. 6.65, student social and emotional development. 6.160, English language learners. That's it for policy.
And 5.240 is not in here.
It's on the agenda, but it's not in the packet.
Right, and I don't think it was in there last time when we approved it.
Suspension.
Yes. We have the packet from last month. We have
Should
it.
be in the minutes.
I know that, I think we said, we approved it, and I just looked
Okay.
through them, and I think one wasn't there.
I
We
think you're
said
right.
we did it, and I'm thinking later, oh my God. I
There was
should've-
administrative procedure that was in the packet but not on the agenda, and then there was a policy that was in the agenda, on the agenda but not in the book.
Right.
Those will be cleared up at our
One was an
committee meeting.
exhibit, I believe, too.
Mhm. And
so we're not doing a second reading on that one.
Right, 5.240, suspension.
Only the ones I read. Correct.
Correct.
Second.
That was seconded by Mrs. Griner. Discussion? Hearing none, roll call please.
Linda Bailey,
Aye.
Pam Griner,
Aye.
Brenda Cagle,
Aye.
Val Reagan,
Aye.
Judy Strong.
Yes.
Motion carried.
All right, we're going on to correspondence.
Okay, just so I'm sure, policy 2:4, I'm sorry, start again. Policy 5:240, suspension. It was not in the packet, and it was listed on the agenda, so it was not in the approval motion, and will be brought in the next packet of policies as we go forward.
What about this exhibit that's in my packet but not on the agenda?
Yeah, AP.
Which is,
5.35 AP1.
General course.
So that'll be next time.
yes, because it was in the packet, but then that one was left off of the agenda, and that's the one that was supposed to be in the agenda, but wasn't, it was in the packet last time. So it was here, but it didn't make it transposed onto the agenda. So just some miscommunications. So we will get it
As long
all
as you're
cleared
keeping
up.
track of it.
Yeah, we're trying our best.
It's confusing.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
So-
It is.
Got that, and we'll take care of 5:240 suspension as well. So, thank you for your patience, ladies. Did everybody vote yay? Okay. Thank you. I was looking for something else. Yeah. Okay.
Bring discussion with the Litchfield.
Are we at board communications? I'm sorry,
Yeah.
okay.
We are.
All right, item I1, correspondence. On February 4th, well, actually, I guess on February 6th, I don't know. Dated February 4th is a letter that I received from Miss Rebecca Ann Litchfield. She had contacted me regarding the picture of her father, Vernon B. Litchfield, from the administrative building. I relayed to her that it had been investigated and looked through and dug around and all of the, without going through individual boxes, and I think they did go through some individual boxes, that it was either misplaced or lost during the move between the Litchfield building and any of wherever you guys started next, went to Homewood next. So she was very thankful of us looking forward to it. He appreciated that we kept her information so that if the picture is located, we will inform her. I told her that we would do that, that there was no malice that I could see on anyone's part. It was just a matter of a misplaced item. So she was thankful that we had taken the time to look and to check in the district, and just sent me a letter expressing her thanks. And that was not anything that she needed to do, but took it upon herself. So I thought it was very nice.
It was very full of grace. Usually in my past memory of correspondence, we read it. Since you're the acting secretary, would you mind?
I would love to.
Thank you.
Superintendent Shane Aldridge, I wanted to thank you for calling me today and sharing with me about my father's picture. After you explained that there's been concern about the portrait, I'm sure this was a phone call you were uneasy to make. I wanted to reassure you that my family was not aware that the picture was missing, and we did not know that there had been concern expressed. I was contacting you for the family. My siblings were here from Las Vegas and Atlanta for my mother's 97th birthday in July. We always stopped to take a picture at the administrative building since my dad was a special man and is still missed after many years. We always look into the building to see his picture. When we noticed it was not there, my brother suggested that I find out if the picture had been moved. If it was no longer wanted, then my family would take it. We are very proud of the many years my dad served as superintendent in Creve Coeur. He was a student advocate and cared tremendously for his staff. I have worked in Bloomington since my early retirement from serving as an elementary principal. Last Friday, January 30th, was the first time since my siblings asked me to check on the picture that I was in the area during the school week, so I decided to stop. I appreciate the concern, the receptionist who spoke with me and remembered my dad. I now understand why there was apprehension that I might be upset, but as I shared, we were just inquiring and did not know that you have been put in an awkward situation since you did not even know my dad. I want to thank those who remembered my dad and wanted his picture to be returned to the Vernon B. Litchfield Administrative Building. I also understand that things can be misplaced or lost when there are large moves. I appreciate that you kept my information so that if the picture is relocated, that you will inform me. Again, I want to thank you on behalf of my family for showing concern and contacting me. Have a very successful school year. I have many wonderful memories of my years in Creve Coeur and especially love Lasalle School. Sincerely, Rebecca Litchfield. Might I suggest that you contact her and ask if she has a photograph of that picture that was on the wall, or if they know where it came from?
Or another picture of him that we could put up.
Well, I'm looking into maybe if we could get a photograph of the portrait up there, maybe we can find someone to paint another one and put up there at no cost to the district, of course.
Well, I mean, the building's named after him.
Right.
I'd like to see a picture of some kind there. I mean, we can't find that one. Maybe the family could
If
provide
they
us
have
with
another
one, but
picture
you're
that we
right.
could have enlarged, a similar one.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound as though they might of that one.
Well, if they came and took pictures every year, though.
Right,
Yeah,
even if
sure.
it's in the background, you might be able to have someone repaint it.
Okay.
I would like to do that. What do you guys think? No? Yes?
Sounds like it's really important to her, so.
The plaques up there, and a lot of us didn't have any contact. I know I didn't.
I did.
And so,
I would just.
Well, I'm not saying as a board, I would like to
no,
seek
but
that out personally.
there are many of you that have had contact with him and really, like Mrs. Cagle said, really deem it. And I know there have been searches upon searches for this picture,
I
so.
don't think it's gonna be located at this point.
I don't think so either. It probably just got lost in the move, the reconstruction. Like she said, it happens. But he was the superintendent of this district for a lot of years, and that's where I
Yeah,
remember.
I know that. I just
So-
didn't have any contact
Right.
myself.
I didn't
The
either.
plaque's up there, so at least we're a little bit acknowledging, but
I've been there when
others
the
like the
family
picture.
comes in,
Yes.
and they want to see the picture. I've been there when they stop by, so it was important to him.
He was obviously important to this district to have the building named after him.
That's true.
Well, and, it might be a trend we might want to start to have not just his.
Does anybody want me to contact the lady?
Yes.
Is that what I'm hearing?
I would like to too,
They have
but
others.
I don't know about everybody else.
okay.
Good.
Then
Well,
you
I
can-
didn't
Okay.
ask to do it personally, because I don't think that's right. I don't want you giving me her information so I can contact her, so if
Right,
you
but I
do
mean,
that,
we
have
might
her
have
contact me.
other superintendent's pictures up there. I mean, start doing that.
That'd be a great idea.
He wasn't the only superintendent in this area. Let's just start putting more. I don't know.
Anyway, let's,
That's a good idea. Okay.
Shall we move on?
So I'm to call Ms. Litchfield and ask if they have a picture of Mr. Litchfield.
There is someone that would like to have personally do a picture painted of him
Try to get it recreated.
to get it recreated. So
Picture.
not
There's
on
no
the
picture.
district's cost,
I'll call her and ask her if she has a picture.
just a picture.
Where we go from there is
Right.
Okay.
yeah.
to be determined later.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to the division dinner meeting. Mr. Aldridge, do you have any starting comments, or you want to turn it over to Mrs. Cagle?
I believe that Mrs. Cagle is all ready
Okay.
with information regarding the division dinner coming up.
Dinner's coming up on March 4th, and Whitey's Barbecue is going to be bringing in food for the dinner. They're gonna have, 2 meats that they're gonna be bringing in and side dishes as well. Right now, the cost is about, $7.25 a person. We do have some things that we're gonna have to pick up, plates and napkins and some silverware and some drinks, so, we need to keep the cost, right around $12, I understand, in order for that to be our cost, to be, handled for the association gives you a certain amount that you have to keep, things under. And I have asked the Parents Club to, basically man the, like the drink table to make sure that the drinks are set out. And also Mr. Kleesner's group, I've asked him to, since they're putting on the chili supper, as far as having the Anna and Elsa and Olaf, that he has kids coming in and they're doing the, those characters are gonna be here in full costume and they're gonna be singing at the chili supper. I've asked him if he would ask those kids, I don't know if they're 7th or 8th graders, if they would actually sing at that division meeting. So he was going to ask them and get back to me. I was hoping maybe to hear from the meeting tonight, but he hasn't told me that. So, and we're thinking that, again, that they'll probably have 3 or 4 meeting rooms that they'll have set up at Parkview, so we haven't heard back yet. And I've heard that there might be about 100 people. So,
150.
yeah, about 100 or so. So that's kind of what we're planning on.
So did you guys rent tables and all that?
No. No, just using the tables that are over at Parkview.
We've had over 100 with the tables and chairs that we have,
Okay.
using those for our staff when we've had all staff.
I didn't know if we had it.
Yeah, I think we're okay there.
You know, we're a grade school, so, we're just kind of going with the whole grade school setup and theme, so.
Okay, what
But-
about the candidates?
Pardon?
What about the candidates?
I just saw the email about that. I think we should invite the candidates.
I think so too, because of
What's
the
on the
brochure.
agenda?
Yeah, and the brochure said that.
Yeah.
Now I'm gonna voice my opinion and you guys, let's discuss it, but I personally think that the candidates should, I think we should invite the candidates. I don't know that the board should pay for the candidates. I think they should pay for their own. So, I don't know what you guys are thinking about
Has the
that.
board been paying for their own?
Have we been
Yes.
paying for our own?
Sometimes.
In the past few times.
All board members pay for their own?
So,
Past-
I don't know.
I mean, are we
Depends
gonna
on-
set a precedent that we continue to pay for our own?
I personally think it would be more welcoming to our candidates if the board would pay. We're talking, what, $23 a person, is that what it is?
That is correct, $23.
And I know we've paid for our own in the past, but this is training. We pay for teachers to go for training. I really think the school district should pay for board members and candidates. I mean, I know we volunteered to pay at different times, but I really think, like Val said, we need to start a precedence.
Yeah, either
This is a school district.
It's cost of doing business.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Well, it
it's
is.
a volunteer
It's training.
position, and we keep asking volunteers to pay out money. We're not gonna get volunteers.
That's just my opinion.
So if you go on what you're talking on, it's a cost of $276. Because you got 7 board members.
I
Well,
won't be
there's
there.
there's a
That's what I need to know
2
today,
board.
because we have to register.
There's only 2 from the board, so there'd only be 5, so it would drop on that.
Why only 2 from the board that's coming?
2 incumbents.
That would be in the
Right, I see.
candidate also.
See.
Yeah, I see what she's doing.
She's doing Val math.
Yeah.
So that brings it down a little bit. 10,
I won't be able to attend, so I would gladly like,
I won't be able to
To take my spot.
All three of you are not attending?
I never attended their Wednesday nights.
Well, I guess you need to bring a motion in. Can we do a motion on something like that? Just a consensus, or what do we need to do there, Mr. Aldridge?
Oh, gosh, I don't know right now.
It sounds like
I
three of them
I
will pay for it, and
just am not sure. Would you like me to invite the candidates to attend the ISB dinner at district expense? Is that what I'm hearing?
well, let's have it.
So.
Consensus, I think you're.
Okay,
doing
what I would
great.
like, see if you either agree or if you don't. Mr. Aldridge, the board instructs Mr. Aldridge to write each candidate a personal letter inviting them to the IASB, well, how else are they gonna get it? IASB dinner at our expense on March 4th. Do you agree or you just?
And they need to RSVP by a certain date,
Yeah.
so that we're not
Tomorrow.
paying for somebody that doesn't show
Okay,
up.
tomorrow, yes.
Okay,
Okay.
no letter, just, it's not,
Do you
who we
agree?
did or
I
not?
can,
That's it.
we have phone numbers, we will
Okay.
contact, I will have, board secretary contact the individual members to invite them and see if they would be willing to attend and as an offer from the school district. And we just don't have time for a letter.
Well, I just
because-
know 2 years ago when
Okay.
we ran, the board invited us, and it was at the board expense.
I don't remember being at the board.
Yeah, they asked if we want to go. It wasn't in this area, I don't even know
Were
where
we-
it was at.
I went.
Are we?
You went, I couldn't go, but I know that they invited us.
Okay, so not attending is Ms. Griner, because I need to let Ms. Walton know for registration, since we're getting to the deadline tomorrow, or the day after, I think. So, Ms. Griner, you're not attending?
No.
Okay. Ms. Bailey, you're not attending, is that correct?
I don't think so, I can let you know for sure tomorrow.
Okay, please.
Okay.
Okay, let Stephanie know. Thank you. All right. Ms. Reagan, doesn't
No.
fit your schedule. Okay. Ms. Cagle, you will be attending?
Yes.
Thank you. Ms. Strong?
Please attend. Yes, I'll be attending.
Okay, very good. We'll also contact Ms. Stroop and Ms. Kern to see about their attendance as well, and then we'll contact the others as well. Okay,
Okay,
very good, thank you.
and because the consensus of those present to want to pay for it, I would believe there's no motion. You remember doing a motion?
No,
Something like
consensus
that?
only.
Just done, okay. Moving on then, can we go for a motion for executive session, please?
Make the motion to enter into executive session for appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the public body, and collective negotiating matters between the public body and its employees or their representatives.
Second.
Thank you. Mrs. Bailey made the motion, Mrs. Griner seconded. Roll call, please.
Linda Bailey,
Aye.
Pam Griner,
Aye.
Brenda Cagle,
Aye.
Val Reagan,
Aye.
Judy Strong.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Let's go with a motion to return to regular session, please.
I make the motion to resume regular session.
Second.
Thank you. Roll call.
Linda Bailey,
Aye.
Deb Greider,
Aye.
Brenda Cagle,
Aye.
Val Reagan,
Aye.
Judy Strong.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Poor Molly.
Doesn't say
Horse by the
horse.
horse, aren't you?
She is.
I'm surprised your nose isn't.
So before we adjourn, Mrs. Bailey, you want to bring your conversation in after we do our motion?
Tried to hire.
Want to hire first? Okay.
Make the motion to hire Richard Borlett to the substitute custodian list.
As second.
Thank you, Mrs. Griner, Mrs. Cagle on second. Discussion. Hearing none, roll call, please.
Linda Bailey,
Aye.
Pam Griner,
Aye.
Brenda Cagle,
Aye.
Val Reagan, Judy Strong.
Yes,
Motion carried.
thank you. Before adjournment, we had been discussing committees, and Mrs. Bailey, you had a question, and Mr. Aldridge was bringing a response for you.
He gave us a list of committees in our packet,
Yep.
and I was questioning the technology and the
Homewood Heights.
Homewood Heights Committee, and also the Citizens Advisory. If you could give us a little information on those.
Sure. This was a list that I generated as some ad hoc committees, especially the technology, the Homewood Heights, and the Citizens Advisory Committee. Obviously, our technology committee, we're going to need to move that forward as we, since we now have bond funds, we need to move that forward and see what direction the board wants to take as far as the technology, because it is, even though we use a lot of printer or toner, it's still woefully underserved, and our children we need to address the technology component of our school district. And Homewood Heights, that really came about as a matter of the gym wall having that bowing effect and the cracking that was taking place. So not only that, but historically, what is it that's a bad word to use, I retract that, that with Homewood Heights, just trying to determine what direction the board wants to take and be definitive about it rather than going back and forth and back and forth. So the Citizens Advisory Special Committee was it was an idealistic committee that I was thinking, and being in partnership with the village and the police department and the fire department and the village, and building those bonds so that they know what's going on in the school district, we know where and what they can do to help us, and we form that bridge and that partnership. Those were committees that I had, like I said, kind of high ideals for, that just did not materialize as other issues in the district became a little more priority basis. So they're at least those, the technology in the Homewood Heights. I would take out Heights and just say facilities. And technology committee are two of the things that we really want to focus in on these next coming school years. The Citizens Advisory Special Committee, I've done that just on an individual basis myself, by attending the village trustee meetings and forming that kind of relationship with the trustees, with the fire department, with Chief Fisher, and just continue to do that. There's a meeting next Wednesday, and I plan to attend. The mayor has graciously allowed me to be on just a running item on their agenda when I can show up to talk about the school district, answer any questions. It makes sense for them to have accurate information and to know what's going on, because that's what we want, for this community. So those were the three committees that were kind of special things that I wanted to address, and we'll get there soon. So
With the bond, of course, where that technology will be a good one. Okay, any further discussion from the table? If not, can we have a motion, please, to adjourn?
Make the motion, we adjourn.
Second.
please.
Linda Bailey,
Aye.
Ann Greider,
Aye.
Brenda Cagle,
Aye.
Al Reagan,
Aye.
Judy Strong.
Yes.
Motion carried.